Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the SIFT Ag Forum. We'll give everybody just a minute or two to get settled in, and we'll start here in about 2 minutes. We got people hopping on as we speak, so we'll give us just a few more minutes here. All right, we got quite a few people have hopped on. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us this Thursday morning. My name is Todd Underwood. I am the Strategic Marketing Manager for SIFT. Just wanted to introduce myself and a little house cleaning this morning. Introduce me for those of you who may have, or me and SIFT for those of you who have never been here before. Tell you a few things about SIFT. SIFT is part of the Ohio MEP, which is a nationwide public-private partnership with centers in all 50 states and Puerto Rico. We are dedicated to serving small and mid-sized manufacturers. We are one of 6 center affiliates in the state of Ohio. We have a vision to be a partner in solutions and innovation for food manufacturing and agribusiness. We work to achieve this vision through a unique blend of direct services, a membership consortium made up of 15 companies in the food space, and a vast network of resources and other partnerships. Our goal is to increase competitiveness and growth in Northwest Ohio and throughout the state. Agribusiness Forum helps that mission by highlighting trends, new innovation, and more once a month when we meet, both virtually and sometimes in person. This month we are joined by Bill Krasner and his team. Bill leads sales and strategies for Intersect Agriculture, IA. He comes with years of experience focusing on the customer needs, honing in on problems and seeing opportunities. He's a proven cultivator of relationships and has been part of multiple startups with successful exits. With his graduate degree from Miami University and MBA from Xavier University, he brings his education from both academia and life, enriching and customer experience and driving the future for IA. Let me see here. All right. So at this way, I will go ahead and turn it over to Bill. Bill, I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble with my screen here.
No worries, Todd.
Here we go. And Bill's also got the rest of his team. Which is kind of cool this morning. We usually don't get a full team, so this is special. And John, I'm going to throw him under the bus. He might be a little tired. He had just had a little baby boy yesterday, so congratulate him in the audience, everybody. I'll turn it over to these guys and turn off my camera so you guys enjoy. And if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A function, and we'll take all those at the end. Appreciate it, and everyone looking forward to this presentation.
Thanks for the intro, Todd. Thanks for the opportunity. I hope everybody's enjoying their breakfast while we're going through this. So you guys can all keep your cameras off, but feel free to participate, ask questions as we go along. Happy to sort of field those, or the other guys on the team are happy to chime in as well. Definitely something that we've been working on for a number of years, and we're all experts in our own domain. So I think they're going to really be able to, on some of the manufacturing questions, add even more to the conversation for some of the folks who are on the call who might have questions there. But as Todd introduced, I'm Bill Krasner. Our company's Intersect Agriculture, and our presentation is going to be on nutrifying waste. and how we're using that to fortify the food system and really build a more resilient food system with insects. So thank you to SIF for having us today. We're presenting because we want to share and learn from the community of innovation leaders in Ohio. Today, 28% of the $1 billion industry, pet food, individuals want pet food with sustainably grown ingredients, specifically insect proteins. And we think there's a great opportunity in front of us to impact the trajectory of our food system. We at Intersect Agriculture have a solution for upcycling food waste and turning that into valuable nutrients and growing that marketplace for sustainably grown nutrients for pet food. Because we have an audience of research scientists and folks in manufacturing excellence, I'm going to spend some time talking about our process. But first, I want to introduce you to the world's first sustainable nutrients with a negative carbon footprint. And that's a really important part of what we're doing at Intersect Agriculture. Beyond just insect rearing, we've devised this really innovative approach that takes the process even further and allows us to be a net negative agricultural business. And that's thanks to our black soldier flies, our unique modular vertical indoor farm, and through them reducing waste and fortifying our food supply. So what's the problem? On a global scale, the availability of natural resources like land, water, nutrients, and energy is outpaced by the growing demand for pet feed and human nutrients, right? Farmers are challenged by the ability for nutrients for their crops and livestock, and that's something that has driven innovation in this sector globally. And frankly, the US is behind. Like the rest of the world has already noticed this. Another thing specifically in the US, in Ohio, 40% of our food waste ends up in landfills. Another source of waste in our region comes from spent grain from ethanol plants, breweries, distilleries. They're either being discarded and sent to the trash heap, or they're being used the byproducts are being used as low value fillers in other processes. And we know that those are underutilized assets that could provide this high protein, high fat product, which is the black soldier fly. So what's our vision? Hakuna Matata, my friends, no worries. Innovation has and will continue to solve these growing pains. People tend to react like Simba on the right, that, oh, grubs, gross, ew. But we know from feeding them to our own pets, they feel like Pumbaa. Pets naturally consume insects. Black soldier fly ingredients are palatable, nutritious, and sustainable. And so while we might be far off on the human side, and people might not be interested in consuming grubs for a while, at least not from the sort of the far edge, they're a phenomenal product for us to be feeding to our pets and through agriculture. If that's pig feed, aquaculture, cows, and there's a lot of research going into that. So our vision is, what if we upcycled byproduct and waste by feeding it to our black soldier flies? Then the black soldier flies were used to fortify the proteins and fats in the pet food brands that we are giving to our pets, as well as creating a hypoallergenic option. Then the frass, or the waste, the excrement, the remaining soil unconsumed material, is turned into biochar and used to fortify soil for our crops, reducing water runoff, reducing dependency on costly fertilizers, all while creating a healthier microbiome for long-term health of our soil. And together, we can help not only improve the health of our animals, but the health of our entire agricultural system. And with those carbon credits, start to work towards the ESG goals that a lot of our corporate partners in Ohio have set forward, and allow them to hit those goals sooner. We really believe that Ohio specifically can be a leader in this emerging market. And we're getting involved with SIF because we want to work with the community, with the folks who are on this call, with the folks that you guys know, to develop that leadership. So what are we leading and how? tell you a little bit about that. We're leading a drive towards more sustainable nutrients. So again, on a global scale, not just in the US, we're looking at how can we feed more people, more animals? How can we create more nutrients with a smaller footprint? And this slide has a breakdown that shows you the energy use, the greenhouse gases, and the land use for a number of different protein sources, nutrient sources. Insects are a sustainable source of proteins, fats, and lauric acid. And I think if you look here for both black soldier fly and the housefly, obviously a lot lower than what it takes for beef and chicken. Consumers, everybody, I don't know everybody on this call, everybody on our team is going to continue to want to eat beef and chicken. Those aren't going to go away. We see it as a way to build a more resilient supply chain and a more resilient nutrient base in the US for both feeding those animals as well as our pets. And there are studies being conducted already in the sort of the impact that the black soldier fly larvae have on the health of beef, on the health of piglets. And so like how much faster they're growing if they're reared on BSFL oil instead of corn oil. But at the end of the day, it takes a lot less energy, space, and releases a lot less greenhouse gases to raise black soldier flies. And because of that, this is going to be a market that continues to develop around the globe. And it's already here in a lot of ways. AFCO, which is the US, for those that are on the call who don't know what AFCO is, it's the group that basically approves what can go into agricultural feed. So they only approved black soldier fly larvae for use in dog food in 2021. So it's still an emerging market in the United States, but globally there are several black soldier fly pet food products on the market, particularly targeting adult dogs, chickens, exotic reptiles. It's still only approved for the full larva to be sold in the US, but globally, it's a $1 billion business selling these black soldier flies to be used in pet food. And because of the higher nutritional value that these black soldier flies have, or because of the high nutritional value, a lot of these projects really command a premium in the marketplace. So Hills, ADM, Nestle, a lot of these big companies have launched seriously into the black soldier fly market. So we're not faced with the question of if, but when it will grow. This is a growing field. Consumers are pushing companies into this. They're actively participating in this nutrient revolution by feeding insects and building them into their own products. I think there's been, in the last 5 years, there's been $2 billion put into the research, challenge studies, things like that, into creating a space for black soldier flies, proving that they're healthy. For a long time, people just wouldn't touch them because they felt like Simba at the very beginning of this. Insects are gross, they're unclean, people don't want to eat them, we want to keep them out of our food. And that's because there are a lot of insects that are pests that carry disease. And one of the really unique things about black soldier flies is they are none of those. They don't carry disease, they only eat when they're larvae. And as these big companies have realized that, they've invested tons of money in creating the marketplace for us. And now there's this open marketplace, and there's an opportunity for companies to come in and be suppliers to the rest of all of the pet food brands that aren't owned by ADM or Cargill, right? Hills Nutrition just launched a black soldier fly pet food this summer. So it's a future that's being cultivated now. How does it work? What are we doing? Like, okay, this is a really interesting market. We can see that it's growing. How do you actually create one of these things? So this food waste on the left-hand side, You can see our process in Mark's garage, our team member's garage. He's got a beautiful two-car garage that we've turned into our pilot facility. So on the left-hand side, we load food scraps and larvae into it. Over 15 days, the larvae grow 1 million times their body weight. And from the picture on the left here, 9 days later, these super efficient composters will compost through 99% of that material. They'll turn into these plump grubs you see on the right-hand side. So we'll separate those, and then the remaining, it'll be larvae and frass, or this like sort of rich, dark-looking material you see on the bottom. The left and right, that's the same pilot test. So over 9 days, it took this leafy green salad and turned it into this beautiful black soil on the right-hand side. Most companies stop there. So most companies separate the two. They take the soldier flies off, and they'll dry them. They might render them and turn them into black soldier fly oil, which is super high in lauric acid. And then they'll take the frass and they'll just sell the frass off as is, as an additive to different soil companies. What makes our process unique is that we don't stop there. We take that low value waste, a low value byproduct, and we turn it into 5 different outputs. So there are the larvae, which are definitely a huge part of the business and super important, but we also create biochar. So through a process called pyrolysis, we take that frass, we take that organic matter, and we heat it up to a super high temperature. And in that process, it burns the organic matter and sequesters carbon. And so that carbon sink creates these carbon credits, which we can then sell on the market. And this is another big and emerging market. So for a lot of companies that want to hit aggressive ESG goals, there's only so much you can cut out of your own systems, right? So a lot of people are using low energy light bulbs, or switching things out internally in their processes. They're looking for ways to use less water. They're switching their vehicles to EVs. But a lot of times there's only so much you can cut. And at a certain point, you have to look to the market for ways to buy or earn carbon credits. And that's something really unique about our process. Because of the pyrolysis, we've created this valuable biochar. We've also created these carbon credits. In 2023, out of all of the carbon credits that have been sold, so think about, you probably read stories about planting forests and capturing credits that way, wind farms, things like that. Well, in the carbon dioxide removal market, or the CDR market, the big stories there are the air capture machines, right? You have a big air capture turbine. It's pulling in the carbon. It's pulling carbon out of the air. Well, that's a really great idea, but we're a long way off from there. 92% of what's been delivered in the last year is through biochar. So this is a market that already exists, that's really well established, and where the industry understands the value and what they can get out of the biochar. So a really cool way for us to take what's already a great process, creating the BSFL, and make it and create even additional value streams. So when we discovered this ability to add our frass byproduct to pyrolysis, we really saw that as a way to differentiate ourselves. Biochar is something that we can bring to the market, the soil amendment that's already used to improve water retention, improve fertilizer efficiency, to lock up carbon in soil for hundreds of years. And it's already in use by golf courses, by farmers, in animal feed, and water filtration segments. The biochar that we have from our frass, we had it analyzed, and it has great properties for carbon credits and soil application. It has an HC ratio below 0.7, which is what you need to qualify for selling carbon credits. It also has above average nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus content, which provides macronutrients for plants, which aids in the cultivation of a healthy rhizosphere. And so this idea that and that will change based on the different feedstocks that we give it. But those macronutrients are always going to exist to some extent, and it's always going to allow us to create those carbon credits. Biochar is a growing industry as well. A meta-analysis suggests that biochar results in a 15% increase in crop yields. Why is it a growing industry? Because it improves soil health and it improves the yields when combined with inorganic fertilizers, and is creating healthier crops. So that's something that I think, folks on this call, again, when we're thinking about why are we on the call, like what are we hoping to share with you guys and what are we hoping to get from the community? If there are people who are interested in biochar, we'd be happy to work with you and share what we're learning, and share with you guys what you're working on as well. What's the process flow? How does our process work? One thing that we're doing differently than some of those than the other BSFL farms is that we're really focused on a green collar approach to our process and design. There are other BSFL farms that have put hundreds of millions of dollars into creating technology to, I think, sing the bugs lullabies and drop them water and really give them the most nurtured life. But we don't, a lot of times it doesn't result in the best bugs anyways, and two, doesn't result in a better process. We really think that taking a green collar approach, keeping costs low and allowing this industry to be more accessible to more people is going to drive more impact than sinking hundreds of millions or billions of dollars into the process. And so in doing so, we've gone after a modular design that allows for blitz scaling, that manages our equipment costs, and allows us to co-locate or locate these plants close to our sources of byproduct. So close to folks in the ethanol industry that we've been talking with, brewing, distilling that we've grown our bugs on their feedstock as well as some commercial lettuce and other farming as well. So our process leverages commercial mushroom farming equipment that has been used globally for black soldier fly rearing as well. And this idea that we're not looking to expose ourselves to sort of the execution risk on the operation side. There are other people who are doing this really well. And so we're taking and learning from them, and we're applying our own business model to it. So we're taking prefab hoop houses that are used in the poultry industry that allow us to control temperature and humidity. And we're using rack systems that are used in mushroom farming. And we think that this combination allows us to build something that is a really great process for our customers. So these images showcase what our building will look like after completion. Our manufacturing process relies on existing technology, as I mentioned, which really reduces the execution risk in building and operating in what is a frontier market. It is a developing market. So this is what our hoop houses look like inside and out. They're simple and effective structures, which are modular and they're easily scaled with expansion. Even the shipping container you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, that's what houses our pyrolysis process. Our eventual goal is this whole process, we can offset the energy costs by putting solar above the roof of the hoop houses and capturing heat from pyrolysis to put back into the system as well. So we're always thinking about how can we make this more green collar? How can we make it more eco-friendly? How can we make it simple without a ton of sort of flair? It's really like how do we make this a really effective process? So what is our 5-year vision? Over the next year, you can see like in 2024, our goal is to create our first borderline sort of innovation center. So everything is in series of 9. That's how many days the bugs take to grow. And you can see like as we ramp up, we'll be producing more larvae, we'll be producing more biochar. and we'll be producing more carbon credits. And our goal is to work with different organizations in the state of Ohio. Some of the folks that we've been talking to have operations outside of the state, but we'd really love to focus on growing more here in the state of Ohio and working with the other folks who are on this call, who are in the SIFT community. So what are we hoping to build with the SIFT community and the folks who are on this call? In short, we're looking for folks who have experience in food processing, who might want to connect, who might be looking to connect with people who are growing insect protein. So even before this call, we had someone reach out who's studying insect protein, who's doing research into insect protein. We let them know we're happy to partner, and we'd be happy to provide samples for them to further their research. We think that benefits us. We think that benefits the entire insect community. Manufacturing excellence. So if there are folks on the call who are interested in different drying methods, we have drying methods that we're using. We've tested a whole bunch, but if you have novel drying methods that you think might be interesting, we'd be happy to work with you on that as well. Enhanced rendering. We think there are always ways, to better maximize the yield of what we're getting out of each of the bugs as we render, as well as proprietary processes. And when it comes to rendering, again, this is something where we're still a couple of years out from that being used in dog food, but this is where if we can plant the flag as a community, as a state, we can be a leader in what is sure to be a big business in the US and globally. We're also looking for, on the resources side, folks who are interested in learning about our engineering or process design, nutritional expertise. I mean, these are the reasons that we got involved with SIFT in the first place. And we'd love to hear back from the community and work with the folks on the call, as well as the carbon credit planning side. So we've already engaged some of the big trading platforms, and we have an idea of what our credits are worth. We've done the life cycle analysis on our biochar, so we know what sorts of yields we get from different feedstocks. And as folks, especially in the agricultural space, it'd be interesting for us to hear how you guys are thinking about carbon credits and carbon capture. So if you're interested in any of those things, or if you have folks who you think would be, please pass along our email address. My email address, bill@bkrasner@intersectag.com. But yeah, we're just really excited about where this is headed and where we think that SIFT and the rest of the Ohio community can take this. So Todd, with that, that's all the presentation I have. So if folks had questions, happy to answer some questions, stay on.
Thanks so much, Bill. Yeah, if you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A function at the bottom. I don't know if John, Nate, or Mark had anything they wanted to add either, or while people are putting their questions in.
Well, I want to take the time, just like Bill said, to really appreciate the opportunity to continue to work with SIFT and to network. Being a really hungry and tenacious startup, we're in that position where any and all conversations are great conversations. And, in summary, one of the things that really is driving us is the ability to make change. And so, food waste is something that's really powerful. And we're trying to harness all of the power that is in this food waste and food byproduct side of the world that we operate in and play in. And so by harnessing that power, we can make real change. So that's creating nutrients for the future. That's creating carbon sinks that will ensure that, we don't overextend our resources more than we already are. And so we're just really appreciative of the time and excited about what's ahead.
Great.
Todd, are you going to eat a cereal bowl full of at the next breakfast? You're going to eat a bowl full of larvae for your to kickstart your morning?
I've tried some interesting food in my time. I'm willing to try anything at least once. So yeah, I would. My wife's from Japan, and they have something called natto, which is fermented soybeans, and it can't be worse than that. I'll put it that way.
No, they're pretty good. I've eaten them live. I haven't even eaten any of the dry ones. They're a little earthy. but our dogs love them. So
Yeah, I'd happily feed it to my two dogs for sure. They would like. Looks like we got our first question here from Rachel. What are the best feedstocks? Kind of ranking your preferred ones.
John, you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. So feedstock wise, we've played with a litany of different feedstocks. Our initial goal is bulk unadulterated feedstocks. And I'm just going to leave that open now, basically saying we don't want to be in the sorting business. We don't want to have to pick out gloves from restaurants necessarily at this point, right? We don't want to worry about forks and knives and kind of all the other things that can be found in food waste. And the way the rules are written now, we can take pre-consumer food waste, right, in order to process. Our targets are brewers, distillers, ethanol facilities. We actually are currently working with some food manufacturers that produce just kind of through their continuous process sandwich making, a lot of bread scraps. The preference, though, these bugs literally have a dream life. They consume voraciously for 15 days. They get to eat whatever. I mean, they eat it all. And then they get to proliferate and die, basically. So, yeah.
And they grow on
feedstock
lots of different food, on different feed sources, right? And it's just different. So John's a chef, so he likes to talk about it as like, we've got the prime selected choice cut of bugs. So based on the different feedstock, we can grow different types of bugs, and that has different values to different customers on the back end. But yeah, I think they're all going to have. I think there's going to be a business associated with each of those different, sort of as John said, each of the different streams in each of the different food waste streams.
Yeah,
so they don't care.
To add to that, right? They don't care. What the base is will or the feedstock will inherently impact the protein content and the fat content of the black soldier fly themselves. Our goal is to really focus on eliminating food waste from one primary source and to keep a very consistent product, as well as keeping other costs down, whether it's logistics, so bringing things in, sorting, and then that would also ultimately add to various greenhouse gas emissions by shipping things in multiple locations. So it's more of really finding a great source of bulk pre-consumer food waste than it is really manicuring and formulating the best possible food source, at least in our opinion.
It looks like we have another question here from Larry. Are there any limitations to using non-veg feedstocks?
Yeah, so these bugs do eat protein. It's a higher spoilage rate, and so that rate of consumption and kind of that process supply chain has to be really efficient so we don't get kind of some stinky stink. But our goal is to just take kind of the non-protein sources initially. So are we getting the crowd excited about bugs? I mean, who's on board with bugs and biochar in the group? I don't know. Is there like a poll thing we can do, or I don't know how we see everybody or kind of take note, but this is something that we're just so excited about. I mean, this marketplace, the opportunity to create change, there's just so much ahead for bugs and biochar. And we're excited to be a part of the wave.
So I have a question for you myself. You mentioned that this is happening already overseas in Europe, in particular around pet food and dogs, but it's not approved yet in the US. What are some of the hurdles for that marketplace to get approval in the US for like pet food? You mentioned it's some food it's approved for, like exotics already, but not like your dogs. What are some of those hurdles that we have to get through?
So it is approved for pets.
It is, okay.
It is approved for dogs. It's almost approved for cats. It's basically waiting for the stamp.
Okay.
All the challenge studies have been completed. It's approved for salmonids. It's approved for pigs. It's approved for chickens, and poultry. And then bovine. The research for bovine has been continuing on and continues. I would say that bovine is probably a year or two away at most. But I would say that probably gets done faster. It really is a supply demand challenge at this point as well, where once black soldier flies are approved, it's difficult for it to become a prolific nutrient in any kind of animal feed regardless, because there just isn't enough supply domestically and globally. And so, yeah, that's where the opportunity lies.
We have a comment from Lori. She says she has eaten larvae in several ways, and I think it's only a matter of culture change now.
Lori, we love it. The US has such a aversion to eating insects, even though there's nothing more nutritious. I mean, when you step on a bug, right? The squish is really high in protein and the crunch is so high in fat. Who doesn't want to, be a part of some bugs in their diet, right? So yeah, thank you for that comment. Love it. It is just a matter of time. I mean, one of the oldest things that humans have ever eaten are insects, and that's because they are just so nutritious. On a pound for pound basis, there is literally no protein more nutritious on this earth. And it's just, we're to be able to farm it and bring it to kind of size and scale that can support the kind of their growing population and the need is just really exciting.
What do you think will be the obviously I'm the marketing person, so what do you think needs to be done from a marketing side? How do you see to make that challenge? Because there is an aversion to that, and without that change, are there people working on that? What do you see on that end? Because that is kind of a big hurdle for you, regardless of the value. You gotta change people's minds. How do you see?
Let their dogs eat? Let their dogs try them. Right? Taste test. They love it. And so I mentioned, like, just in passing, it's hypoallergenic, and so it's a third of dogs now, especially as we get more of these designer breeds, have some form of food allergy. And to most of them, it's to beef, but a lot to chicken. And people are trying to find these marsupials. I have a cousin who's buying meat from Australia to give her dog. And so that's part of it, right? Is that there's this huge market for designer pets. And that's one thing. And the nice thing about on the agriculture side, a lot of times they don't care as much about, is it gross, or is it, they're saying, is this going to help me grow my animals better? And the answer is yes. And people are investing a lot of money in running studies that prove that.
Yep, I think this is an adoption curve challenge more than anything, and some of that is just patience. I mean, in pigs, when baby pigs that are being weaned eat insect larva protein, their weight decrease is less, and so it creates a more efficient kind of rearing of the pig because they don't have as much weight loss and then recovery to get to harvest. And it's pretty amazing, all these benefits. And it really is because specifically in North America, we have such an aversion that we don't really know in our core all the benefits of just eating bugs. But in the way that we see it, we're not going to change people's perceptions. We can change pets and animals a lot easier. I mean, the best example, Nate has a little puppy at home. And I'm telling you, if you've ever seen a cat on catnip, watch his little dachshund on some black soldier fly larva. This little guy goes nuts for these bugs.
Sounds like you got a commercial right there.
Right?
Let's go get somebody in there to shoot it.
There's
All right, guys. Well, any other questions from the audience? We still have quite a few people here. Give one more chance.
Does anyone have any questions on the biochar side of things? That's definitely, we're tackling two growing markets, right? Bugs and insects. It's definitely one of them. And then this biochar side of things is what we're also really excited about. And it does separate us from others in the industry in that, we're creating a carbon sink, and we're creating a soil amendment that reduces water runoff in farms. It makes fertilizer more efficient. and you don't have to use as much fertilizer, so it reduces the overall cost because, you know, the way that it works is 1 pound of our biochar is equal to 14 football fields in surface area. So just think about that as a big sponge. What we're doing is creating charcoal through our byproduct that is just a big sponge in the soil, and it opens up, it decompacts the soil as well, allowing for rooting to be better. It really impacts the ability for kind of the strength of the microbiome in the soil as well. So it really is amazing ingredient that, you know, folks like the Andersons have a product out in the marketplace now, and it too goes to a supply demand issue where others we know of, we've spoken to a lot of folks that want to use it. The challenge is we've got to create enough supply to ensure they always have it at the ready. So there's a lot of gains to it. And then on top of it is the carbon credit side of things.
All right. Well, thanks, John. I think we can probably wrap it up there, and appreciate it. Everyone, this will be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to SIF's YouTube channel, and we'll send out the recording to everybody. And please join us next month on the third Thursday of October for our next AgriForum business. We'll be sending out some information shortly on who will be presenting, and we appreciate everybody's time and have a great day. Thanks, Bill, Nate, John, and Mark. This is the most presenters we've ever had. We broke the record today, and look forward to talking to you guys again down the road very soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.